Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we've got another Brawlmachine battle report for you. And this time I'm swinging around with the Dreamer. And what are you doing, Ethan?
I got Lord Azazello.
So we decided to bring a two-list pairing to this game. It seems like that's the way that you not should play, but it's the way that we're gonna play. For my pairing, I decided to bring two lists with similar concepts. They're both beast bricks. I've got the child with a bunch of beasts, and my dreamer list that I decided to drop has Baron Tonguelick, a Cage Rager, a Clockatrice, Skin and Moans, and then my requisition is two Crabbits, or are two Crabbits. And then for the solos, I ended up not putting any solos in the main list other than the Baron, so I have a minimum unit of Dreadrots in here just to kind of get some unit attacks out if I need those, and then score some of those circle zones if they come up. For the sideboard, I decided to bring Gremlin Swarms and a Glimmer Imp, and then for the final thing in there is a Gorehound, and that's just so I can slot in more solos if I happen to need them. The Glimmer Imp's really good in the sideboard if you need a easier time hitting, and Gremlin Swarms are great just because they having an incorporeal stealth model, that's kind of hard to take care of at 25 points, so if your opponent doesn't have the tools, they're nice to go with.
And then for my pairing that I brought Rask and Will Work for Food paired with Lord Azazello. I'm just going to say Lord Az because I'm going to keep butchering that name in Thornfall Alliance. And my Rask list was kind of out there. Like, I tried shoving in Melvin and Mayhem at Brawlmachine levels because I wanted to see if he is too good. And I figured minions would be the place to break him. So, like, my list is literally, like, Mayhem and friends. But I ended up dropping Lord Az, and he's got a Warhog, Roadhog, Wastelander is my rec option, Swamp Gobber Chef, max unit of Brigands with Warlord, and Bone Grinders. And then my specialists are Lanissa, Hutchuck, and Gudrun. And if you're a keen observer and have watched a previous report, you notice this list is almost identical to Midas. Minus I swapped around the battle group things. I wanted to try and show, like, I made a comment in the last video how, like, I thought Lord Azazello just kind of pushes out the other pig casters. So I kind of wanted to show, like, I feel like this is the list Midas wants to run, but Lord Az just does it better. And I feel like if it is a one list format, like this kind, like Lord Az just pushes his Midas out of even contention. So that's why I wanted just to try and see how it would play.
So in a surprising turn of events, I won the role to go first. I feel like I've lost the role to go first in every Brawlmachine we've played. But my deployment is pretty, like, central because our scenario is central. I know I'm going to have some problems with the flags right away, so my Dreadrots are going to take that solo flag that's out on the side, and then I'm going to be getting the rest of the brick kind of in the middle. And my goal here is just to try and mitigate the Brigands as much as I can. I think right now I'm not thinking of them as much of a threat, and I want to try and be able to deal with the beasts that Ethan has right now. So I'm trying to set myself up for those future turns. I think the Dreamer's going now, just setting up an Artifice. I think we put Mirage on the Skin and Moans just to get that extra threat out there. And then she decided to charge up because she does have Gunfighter, so that means that she can actually charge, which is quite nice for her because I don't want her to be too far back. The Arcana that I picked for this round were, of course, all Fall Down, which I hardly ever will get use out of. And then we also have Labyrinth and Pandemonium. Whenever there's a unit in Brawlmachine, I feel like Pandemonium is like an auto take for Grymkin. Just being able to shut down one charge is super powerful. And then Labyrinth I was kind of wishy-washy on because I just didn't want to... If I could hinder the the speed on Ethan's battle group, I figured I was in a good spot. So Labyrinth is what I opted to go with here, and you can see that the Skin and Moans put up Lurker and Trampled, and then I think I remove a Fury because I calculated wrong, and Ethan was good enough to make sure that I don't take a Frenzy check turn 2.
So my bottom of one, measuring there, he did put the clock outside of a full bore assault charge threat, but he left the Crabbit in because he said he didn't care. So I'm like, that's the first thing I'm going to do is just try and get some free damage. So I can charge 10. My trench is deployed at the 20, and I'm at the 10, so I can max charge and stay in the trench because math is fun. And then I boost the hit it, boost damage. Just checking. It's dice damage, and I want to say I leave it on 2.
Yeah, I think it was 1 or 2 boxes. It wasn't a ton left on him.
Yep.
Or 3. Sorry, it was 3.
And then he took 2 to the 1. And then the henchman for this game, if you don't know, Lord Az can pick a Farrow unit, and it gets +2 def and can reroll missed attack rolls. So, of course, I opt for the max unit of Brigands, because now that puts them up to def 14, 18 if they dig in, and they really, really loved the rerolls, and they did pray the clock, because I figured his def 13 was going to be something I need to deal with. It was a toss-up between him and the Skin and Moans, but I figured the clock would be easier, because like if he stutters out of combat, the rest can just shoot, and that's kind of my logic. Like, if a heavy goes in, doesn't finish the clock off, and it stutters out, then the Brigands can finish it. And then the UA is staying max distance back, because Pandemonium scares me a lot, because like this is a 18-point unit, or 19 point with the unit.
It's almost like Pandemonium's a time lock for you.
It's like worse than a time lock, because like if that goes off on my feet turn, I've just blown my feet for nothing. Az puts up Storm Rager on the Wastelander and Wind Rushes into the Rubble, just in case he wants to try and throw a damage spell out at me. Like, he can get a clock spray on me, but I'm camping one, and then I feel like that's fine, because then I just kill a clock.
So we're back to my turn, and I need to start figuring out how to unpack into this. Dreamer is a really controlling caster, and I'll interrupt myself. The fire didn't go out, and then I just died from it. So easy peasy, 1 Crabbit gone. I probably could have kept that back a little further, but by the time I noticed that the Roadhog threatened that far, I was just like, whatever, we'll just live in this. But the Skin and Moans miraged up. So the first thing I decide to do here to try and keep myself scenario relevant with a very small footprint and a horrible ability to score these flags is I decide to run with the Dreadrots first. And the goal here was to just get them to chunk up the Brigands a little bit and still leave a couple back in case the Brigands come up and I guess they're going to come up anyways, like they have to do something to those Dreadrots. So the ones behind the wall are just sitting there to try and help clear the flag up if there's something that's there. Plus one of them, I think, is in contesting range, so it's good for me to be able to make sure that the scenario doesn't get too far away from me. So I can see that Ethan's heavies are both really up in the zone, and at this point in the game, I'm really worried about the heavies. I want to try and make sure that I can win the peace trading game by taking some of these, and I have a lot of ways to do that. So the first thing that happens is the Cage Rager gets into position so that I can arc an Abyssal Gate into that Roadhog. They're sitting in the trench, so it's going to get a little rough. I think with the Dreamer, I need a 9 to hit it, but I'm very new to Dreamer in general. I played her maybe once before. So Ethan is kind enough to remind me that I have Future Sight, so I don't need to use my Fury to boost right now. And we just go for it and hard roll the 9 like casually. It's good time. So that allows me to drag out the Roadhog a little bit further and turn it around. Well, I guess I have to damage it first, and with Future Sight, I do enough to damage it. It's just really good. So we end up dragging the Roadhog out of the trench and spin it around eventually. I think right now what I'm doing is checking to see if the Clockatrice can get the charge and what it would be spraying into, because there's a bone grinder behind it that I wouldn't mind getting, but mostly I want to get the positioning right so that I can charge the Roadhog and hit the Warhog too with the paralyzed spray, or slow spray, sorry. And we get that all squared away and settled. So now I think Manifest Destiny goes up with the Dreamer, and then she puts up Elusive on herself. And I don't believe I've Wraithwalkered this turn. I don't feel like I'm in a super huge amount of threat, what we're figuring out right now is Azazello's threat range with Windrush and a charge. I was thinking about getting the Dreamer on the backside of that flag because I don't really have anything over there to grab it easily. I have the Baron, but he's got a different job right now. So I was thinking about throwing her on that flag, but I think with the Wastelander there too, I decide to just keep the Dreamer safe because 100% I lose this game if the Dreamer gets got, because all of the damage that Ethan's doing is going to cause enough to probably spill over into Beasts, and I need them to do work, so they're probably going to be going full most of the time. So instead of getting Dreamer active on the scenario right now, I've decided to play her a little bit more safe, and I see 2 tokens by her, so I think I did put Wraithwalker up and just maybe did it out of turn. So she's super duper safe. But the Clockatrice goes for that charge, and the big thing I want here is the Assault Spray. Not because I'm worried about not hitting the Roadhog. I want to hit the Warhog to try and be able to get him out of that trench as well. My hope was to try and take 2 beasts with this move, but I end up missing pretty badly on the Roadhog, the Roadhog I hit, but I think I miss on the Warhog, which I don't think we've actually gotten to yet.
No, you were deciding on boosting or not. You boost and still miss.
Yeah, I boost and roll 3 1s for that. So that's no bueno for the Warhog, because that was a real big deal for me.
But you did hit the Roadhog.
Yep,
so
I did hit the
paralyzed.
Roadhog. Yeah, he's not,
slowed.
Yeah, hopefully the Clockatrice just kills him, and you can see I'm rewarded for my horrible damage, or my horrible hit roll, by rolling 666s.
Yeah, I thought I could live through a clock, but then you rolled 666s on the charge, and I'm like, no, that's a dead Roadhog now.
Yep, and you can see we're just chunking damage more and more at this Roadhog, and the clock's using his last attack, and there's maybe about 7 or 8 boxes left on that Roadhog right now, and we're dice off 4, so we end up crushing it, so he's out of there.
Yeah, when you boosted on the Warhog, I'm like, okay, now I think I live, because you wasted an attack, but then like you just rolled way high.
Yep, it worked out pretty well for me. I think my hopes are like dashed and actualized all in one, because the Clockatrice was the only one that needed to go do something with that. So now I'm trying to get dangerous with the Baron here. I get him into the zone a little bit, and I need to roll a 10 on hitting the Warhog in the trench, but we end up positioning him a little bit differently just to prepare for later turns, and unfortunately I missed by 1, which is, it always stings when you do this. Not like it would change if you did anything other than roll that 10, but when you're one away from your target number, it just feels weird. So I don't end up connecting with that Warhog, so now I have to kind of figure out where to put the Skin and Moans to keep him safe. And with Mirage up on him, I'm pretty happy with putting him behind that obstruction. I've got a Crabbit up on that top flag because I can contest the scenario a little bit, and I think I'm set up for my next turn pretty well.
So going into my turn 2, I figured Assault spraying up with the Roadhog would cost me the Roadhog because he can just pull a heavy out pretty trivially. But I'm okay with that because I know he's probably going to get the alpha on me because the Stygian Abyss makes him threaten like 1 inch farther than me with my beacon gun.
Abyssal Gate.
Unless it's a Roadhog going full bore, but like I don't think a Roadhog without buffs can kill any of your heavies because it's POW 15.
Yeah, and with the clock, it's at least defense 13, so that gets a little tricky to hit too.
Yeep. So now I upkeep Storm Rager, and I'm debating feeding this turn because I think like I'm gonna blow all those Brigands in there because I didn't bait it out, but I put up the heavy 2 hoping he would Abyssal Gate it because Enfeeble makes my Brigands really, really sad, but he only has the Fury to manifest, Abyssal, or manifest and Enfeeble, and I figured the heavy would be more enticing than getting Enfeeble out because the Brigands ran like because I just needed them to get up the board.
So I want to interrupt for just a second and say that the reason we had paused the clock there was we were looking for steppers. Ethan's trying to do something cute and has turned the underneath of my table into Ethan's storage unit for his models. So we just had to find these steppers.
Yeah, I forgot that.
It's not a problem.
So I'm measuring out where I can walk in feet, and that's pretty much where I can go.
Is he speed 5?
He's actually speed 6, but I didn't want to go the full distance.
I just didn't. I know I'm missing one of my little small steppers, so I was like, maybe he's speed 5.
And here's something cute. I aimed, boosted the shot into the clock. I hit, I boost damage. I'm hoping the proc stutter, leave 1 box in the spirit.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, super great. So now it's beaconed, and now I'm wind rushing because I wanted to aim, but Lord Azazello is Rat 7 base, so I aimed to a 9, so that was pretty nice. So I wind rush over. I don't go the full distance because I'm still scared of maybe taking some damage now that one of my heavies is gone and I'm expecting the other one to go pretty full. So I'm wind rushed over, camping 1, and I feet. And now I'm just trying to measure out some vectors. So with Beacon, I can get 1 Bone Grinder for sure. And then like I'm measuring the back one because they're speed 5. They charge 8, charging 10 with a 1/2 inch. And then I forgot they have Bloodthirst. So originally I just charged in the leader up there and then like I ran around. And then I think here I'm going to pull up their card and I'm like, oh yeah, they have Bloodthirst. So that back one would have been in. So Brian's nice enough to let me get the charge in. And the one that charged farthest is the leader. So the back 2 are out of command. But I think that's fine for next turn when they get promoted. First one hits. He's a POW 13 Weapon Master with Dismember. And it's dice -5. But I believe here you proc the -2 speed one.
Yeah, I think I ended up putting up Labyrinth. I thought that maybe it would do some good, making sure that the Roadhog or the Warhog would have to charge me.
And I rolled Abysmal on that Weapon Master charge. I believe I did 4 damage at dice -5 with 4 dice.
It wasn't a ton, and you ended up doing that to the 2, so it's not the greatest for me for time stuttering. But it is what it is.
I would have rather made you stutter.
No, I mean, like, if you went to, like, the 1 or something, it would be better. But at the 2, if you hit that again, it won't kick over to the other one.
So Warhog goes. I aggression dial him. And then I roll exactly enough to make him stutter.
Yep, so I think my mind is out on this one.
The body,
sorry. War beasts are still weird to me.
So, like, if I hadn't aggression dialed, I would have got a second attack.
Exactly.
And probably could have killed him.
Got to get greedy. So now I get to stutter away, and I knock over a Brigand, but I back up a little bit to try and save myself as much as I can from any other pieces. I feel like I'm out of threat from the Wastelander, but I think I'm forgetting about one of his rules.
You're forgetting about acrobatics.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I think the clock is on borrowed time, but that's okay. It did what I wanted it to. I mean, it traded a heavy, and now I've got not just the Wastelander, but a half of a unit and a Warhog in front of my Skin and Moans, so that should be good for him when it comes back around to my turn.
And actually, I just realized I just cheated. He doesn't have acrobatics.
You son of a
I know.
bitch.
I was just literally looking at his card, and I was like, oh yeah, he has parry. And then, like, I flipped it over, and yeah, so I just cheated.
But I think, honestly, and I'm sure we could look at it again, but I'm not going to. I don't think that you charged over your own guys when you made that charge. Maybe I thought that the threat range wasn't as big as it was.
Because with Beacon...
Yeah, with Beacon and Storm Rager, but I just didn't figure Storm Rager in.
I mean, Storm Rager doesn't give speed. It just gives strength, arm, and mat.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd have to relook at it. I feel bad if I did cheat there.
It's not a big deal. Somebody will see it and figure it out. Yeah, either it was just a slip, or it was just a charge that I didn't see right away in the second.
Because he's speed 7. There I'm doing some hog wild shots, and I tried rolling into the Cage Rager because he's the new prey, but POW 14s at dice -5 weren't doing much, so I figured I'd clear some dudes with the shots. And even though they're not my prey, with Rat 5 and rerolls, thanks to being Henchman, like, Henchman is just such a stupid good rule. Like,
I don't think it's too good of a roll. It's just good, and it makes Brigands good.
yeah, instead of just making them good base,
Yeah.
which annoys me more, to be honest. And then, the camera dies here.
So the battery dies out on this one, and I think the shots clear out all of the Dreadrots but one.
I believe there's 1 or 2 left. I mean, we can look at the picture next, but the big thing is I get 5 charges on the Cage Rager, one of which is out of feet, and I leave him on 1 box.
Yep, exactly 1. So that
1 in the spirit.
that makes me feel good, at least that I've got that heavy, that I didn't lose 2 this turn. But I 100% did not respect the Brigands enough to feel like, I felt comfortable with where everything was, but I didn't expect them to take down almost an entire heavy.
And I think like the back ones didn't have line of sight to any of the little dudes, so I think a few of them could have hog wild into the... Actually, I would have hog wild with all of them into the clock to clear it, so I don't feel bad if I did cheat, because I think hog wild shots would kill the clock.
Yeah, either way it goes down. So going into the top of 3, I have a lot to consider here. I've lost more pieces. Well, I haven't lost more pieces than I thought. I knew I was going to lose some Dreadrots, but I didn't think I was going to almost lose my entire Cage Rager. So I'm at least happy that I've got it, because a War Beast with 1 box is just as good as 1 with full. I mean, in terms of being able to do stuff with them. So the first thing that I do is mirage my Skin and Moans up so that I can start charging into the heavy and some of the bone grinders that are hanging out here. I decide to go with the easy activations first, and that's going to be just moving up my Dreadrots. They're not charging, they're just walking, and I want to punch one of these Brigands, and then the way that with Ethan charging the way that he did, I got the back arc on this one, so it was a little bit easier for me to hit. And I take him out to grab a corpse, and then both those Dreadrots are in contesting of the flag, so if Ethan decides to put anything over there, which not that I think that there's anything over there right now, at least I've got something to contest it, so I don't just get that swiped out from under me. But now I've got to try and untie the weirdness that's happening in the middle of the table, because that side could slip away from me pretty easily with the way that the Cage Rager is looking, and if the Skin and Moans doesn't get to do as much work as I want it to, things are going to be really awkward for him as well.
And I think there I was showing off because Lord Az gives riposte in his command, so it's basically those what are they called, grinders, and then the back row of Brigands all have riposte.
Yeah. And if you're paying attention to the time, my second turn took a lot of resources from me, just trying to orchestrate getting all these heavies and abyssal gates the way that I did. So I'm not really respecting the amount of time that I have left here. I'm just trying to unpack things, feeling like I've got an extra 10 minutes. But I start to show a little bit of hustle here, getting the Dreamer up so that I can kind of influence more of the table with my Arcana. And I think she might be towing the zone. I can't quite tell behind the rock, but I think there's just a little bit that she can tow into. And I put up Manifest Destiny with her so that the Skin and Moans can go in. His charge attack ends up missing,
Or he just walked. He was trying to punch grinders for corpses, but he missed, and he was outside riposte range.
Yep, so that was a bonus for me, but unfortunate that I missed with one of my initials on something that's so easy
You're
to
14
kill.
under feet.
Yeah, but with Manifest Destiny, I still need 7s. So it's not terrible with him. He's Mat 7.
Well, fuck. Yeah.
So the Skin and Moans is pretty well poised to hit high defense stuff, but unfortunately it just like doesn't connect. So after those, I just decide to buy attacks onto the Warhog, and most of those hit. Some of the damage rolls are impressive, some are pretty average, but I end up leaving him on 2 boxes or 1 box or something.
You left him on 2.
Yeah, it wasn't real great over here. So me getting greedy and taking the extra, taking my swings into those bone grinders might not have been the greatest idea in the world, but I think like it works out either way.
Yeah, because you missed an attack and then you had to waste another. Otherwise, like you killed a Warhog, and as you'll note, we did forget about Phantasms.
Yeah, Phantasms just fell out of my perception this game. So with 30 seconds, I pass it back over to Ethan, having done nothing with anything.
So going into my turn, I'm really glad the Warhog lived. I upkeep, and I have to cut for 1. I upkeep Storm Rager. He did not contest my flag, so I scored at the end of my turn, end of his turn, so I'm up 2-0. And I'm going to go up to 3-0 automatically by my flag, but I think I can clear the zone. Lord Az aims, boosts a hit into the Froggy, boost damage, connects and kills him, and then I heal 2 on the Warhog, and I just camp 1. And call life good. So here I'm going to try Brigands. The back line of Brigands is aiming, and the front ones are just staying in melee with their prey. So they're just trying to punch. They're just now down to POW 12, so they're dice minus 7s. So like there I do 1 point. I hit. Do 1 point. I hit. I do 1 point.
Yep. So you like efficiently in every way took out that Cage Rager.
And then I cycle prey over there. The backline that aimed, they now aim to rat 9 with prey. So I hit POW 14s. But now the one behind the wall, miss, reroll thanks to henchman. He toughs. Next one shoots a knockdown guy. And then here's I definitely cheated. So I run the Duder threw my dudes to the flags. I thought he had acrobatics. In reality, all I had to do was repo the dudes into the zone. I forgot they had repo this game. So, like, I did cheat, but all I had to do was repo into the zone.
Yeah, the results were the same.
I still, like, that was dumb of me. I looked at his card. He has parry, and then I think in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, he has parry. Every parry model has acrobatics.
It happens. It's the way that it goes with people or with models that are loaded like that.
Like, he has every rule but that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, it just got mixed up in my head. I still feel bad about that, though.
So for my sideboard, I'm really lacking solos in this main list, so I decide to pull out the unit of Dreadrots. They're kind of low-hanging fruit for those Brigands to get a hold of. So they come out, and the Glimmer Imp and Gremlin Swarm come in. I feel like Ethan's lacking some magical weapons in certain areas, so the Gremlin Swarm is going to be really good. And since Lord Azazello ends up pumping up the defense so much, I decided to bring that Glimmer Imp in to try and make my time with hitting them a little bit better. You could see in, like, I think it was the 3rd turn where the Cage Rager just missed every single attack that it had, even boosted under Signs Importance, or not Signs Importance, but under Manifest Destiny. We did have a calculation issue. I think we were working them out to be defense 18, but that's only when they're dug in. So Ethan's just messing up all those rules.
Yeah, I'm just such a cheater. They were def 16 with Duelist from the feet, and then you did hit 1, but he toughed, and that was your last attack.
So what'd you do with your list?
So for me, I cut out the Bone Grinders because, like, they're mat 6, and his heavies are def 13 on average, and I don't have, like, a def fixer. I brought in Gudrun because I was thinking about a medium-based Berserk under feet could clear some Dreadrots, so I wouldn't have to waste Brigands. And then, lo and behold, you took out the Dreadrots. So I was thinking, like, that gets me a third solo. He can kind of hide off on a flank and do his own thing. And that was pretty much my logic. Otherwise, like, I like how the list performed. And it's just, like, with the max Brigand boat, all I can really swap out is the support.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about this format is max units are good when you've got the buffs to do it, but they really hinder your ability to diversify your list.
Yep, but I feel like with henchmen, like the max unit, like I want, because def 14 with the henchmen, 16 under feet against melee, 18 if they're dug in, and then the reroll attacks for a max unit is just so good, especially a prey unit.
Yeah. So I had lost. That means that I get to automatically choose the turn order. I opt to go first, and Ethan doesn't want to switch sides because he doesn't want to deal with the obstruction, and I'm okay with that because I have a lot easier time dealing with it than he does. My deployment's just a little bit shifted from previously. I've decided to keep things a little more central and going towards the bottom. I know that Ethan's going to try and be tricky with keeping his unit attachment outside of Labyrinth range, or not Labyrinth range, but Pandemonium range. So I decided to get Dreamer on that side too, and hoping to catch her later. But I've got the Gremlin Swarm running up to the flag on the top side of the zone where it's probably going to live for the rest of the game. And the Clockatrice now is in the pool instead of having to use the Lurker Animus on the Skin and Moans to get him there. And the Cage Rager's just kind of hanging out in the same area he was before. My deployment really didn't feel so bad. I think we're going to be fighting a lot over the center, so I don't think there's any reason to really shift the way I'm doing things. Next up, I unfortunately have to walk the Dreamer because I didn't activate her before the Skin and Moans, and I get Mirage up on the Skin and Moans now at least. And then the rest of my battle group, the Crabbits and such, just kind of run up to be effective in their areas where they need to be effective for shield guards.
So my deployment is pretty much the exact same as before. I might have shifted down just a little bit, and then I got Gudrun on the other side down there. So there, I'm just running up dudes again, pretty much the same as last time. I don't think walking and digging in is the right call because like I have to worry about Enfeeble, but at the same time, I'm trying to present as much as I can. And there I'm just keeping the Valk outside of a cheeky assault.
Well, it's the unit attachment. She looks like a Valkyrie, but she's a Brigand Warlord.
She's the Brigand Valkyrie.
She's the Brigand Warlord, but she's
the Valkyrie mini crate.
She looks like a Valkyrie.
There, Gudrun stands next to a building, and we find out we can shove his spear through a window.
Yeah, he's trying to steal some wine that's sitting on their countertop or something.
Because I confirmed his models don't have Pathfinder, so they can't charge me over it, but I do. So there, I'm just running up my max 10 to stay fully in the trench, which is again deployed at the max 20. And here I'm running up the Warhog, but I'm going to try and stay out of Abyssal Gate from the Cage Rager. I probably should have stayed over just to bait the Cage Rager coming over to again try and keep the Enfeeble, because I have no way to strip offensive upkeeps, and it's just really scary. Storm Rager on the Wastelander, I walk up this time, and then I wind rush into the trench because now I want to try and play more centrally and try and leverage Azazello's melee threat and feet reaching farther. Wastelander just runs up to the front side of the trench, and I have a Goober waiting on the side again.
All right, so I'm presented with basically the same thing I had last game. And with this scenario, I don't think you're going to really see much of a difference in turn to or from game to game in Brawlmachine, just because it is a very central zone. I mean, it's just a central zone, and then the rest of the flags just kind of like the pieces that you have go to where they need to go because it's the only place they really are effectual. So there's not much of a reason to unpack differently on this scenario. The Cage Rager Mirage is up, and I think I take a little bit of time in the tank here to...
Or the Skin and Moans.
Or yeah, Skin and Moans, sorry. I think I take a little bit of time to kind of figure out what it is I'm doing. And I think my cards have manifested. I'm like, none of these guys have changed, so I'm just going to pull out my cool cards because I am a cranky old wargamer, and I miss cards, and I don't like Riot Quest aesthetic. So I'm just kind of farting around right now, just like not knowing how to do things, because like I've got the ability to try and do an Abyssal Gate on a Roadhog again and take that, but it was a trade, and I think that Ethan taking one of my heavies probably hurts me a lot more than it hurts him in terms of like the trade of one heavy for another. Even though I've got 3, the Cage Rager isn't really like super active, so I think it's just taking me a while to really formulate things. And we know the last game I got down to 30 seconds to work with. So I really don't have the time to be putzing around trying to figure out what it is that I need to do. I should have a plan of attack ready to go. But the Dreamer is so like finesse based that I think it takes a lot of games to get used to her. It's not that she's definitely not bad. She's easily one of the better casters in Grymkin, but she just you need to be playing more than 2 or 3 games to be able to execute your turns pretty quick. And you can see that pretty well showcased as I've spent almost 3 minutes now and not moved a single model. So finally I decide to get off the pot and move the I decide to be a little bit more cagey this time with my Cage Rager, just on that side in general, right? I am flooding this flag with solos, mostly like I want to be able to like do some work over here, so I try to do some low-hanging Abyssal Gate on Gudrun to just see if I can get him out of there. I don't know why I really did this, because there's nothing over there that can actually like charge into him or anything. So
I think it's more of like just free damage and turning him around.
Yeah, that's probably more so the deal. But I feel like I probably should have had the Baron go first to do that instead of having the Cage Rager run first, because then maybe I'd be able to get him early. But regardless, I'm starting to position things up a little bit better, and I'm after Mirage. I can just charge the Roadhog instead of having to pull Abyssal Gate shenanigans. So I've got Manifest Destiny up, Elusive up on the Dreamer, and she is not in Wraithwalker right now. So we decide to unpack the Skin and Moans into the Roadhog, and we're doing some pretty decent work to him. It's going a little bit better than it did last time. Probably not like the clock did, but there's a big difference between POW 14 and POW 17. So I think we end up taking him off the table with this last attack, and you'll notice that I haven't put down a Phantasm. I'm going to correct that, but this game I'm refusing to forget about Phantasms, even though I kind of already did.
And then you did give him a Corpse. I don't think you can Phantasm and Corpse, because the Phantasm removes that boxed.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird interactions with this list that I just needed to figure out, and that is one that I hadn't yet. So
we both cheated.
We both cheated this game.
So I don't feel so bad.
I've already passed the clock over to Ethan, but we'll get to that Phantasm soon.
So my turn. Upkeep Storm Rager. With Reaving in my Fury. Again, I've lost a heavy. I'm not too worried about it because I don't do anything to buff them besides shooting.
They're just
my
there to
beacon
be
gun.
there, right?
They're my min battle group points. Like the Roadhog gets me sprint, so if I want to charge something, I can wind rush back, sprint, so I have like super move, and then bulldoze. If bulldoze still worked on out of normal movement, like if you could wind rush bulldoze like Mark II, like I'd be super happy with that Animus, but otherwise that's a dead Animus to me. I'm just trying to plan out my turn and try and figure out, and I believe originally you did switch one of your Arcana.
I did this game. I took out Labyrinth and put in Fortune's Path because I just figured maybe this will be better. In hindsight, Ruin probably would have been the better way to go here, but I just was being cute with my Arcana.
So here we start to measure me charging the Skin and Moans. And then that's where Brian remembers, oh yeah, I killed a thing.
Yep. So now
like
I get
literally
to...
right in my charge lane is a nice dude, and then I let you activate him, and then he bulldozes my heavy around.
I think I've said before, like I try not to be skeezy, but this felt dirty because like Ethan was figuring his charge range out, and I'm like, oh wait, I could.
And then you bulldoze me back. So now I have to get super cute. So I'm like, my plan was charge him, wind rush back, like just soften him up. So I Flashing Blade. I hit POW 10 Weapon Master because I'm not feeding this turn, and I believe I did no damage. I do it again. I hit because he's def 10. I do 3 damage. So I have to do it again.
Yep, he's a little beefy. He's arm 18 with 5 boxes. Not bad.
And then I finally roll.
You just destroy him.
Yep. So now Azazello did not get to do any melee attacks on the Skin and Moan, which is unfortunate. So now I decide.
We also have, I believe, Storm Rager fell off your Wastelander.
Because I forgot that strips upkeeps when he dies. So I ended up aiming because I never moved. Shot the Skin and Moans. He shield guarded it. I boosted damage, and then I was able to get off the
Crabbit that was back there.
At dice damage, I rolled pretty well on that. But now I'm camping 1, and I'm kind of in the danger zone. So I'm trying to figure out what else I need to do over there. Like I think a Warhog and a Wastelander, even without Storm Rager, can finish off a Skin and Moans. I'm just worried about the dude missing. Because Mat 8 and the Def 13 need a 5, but Mat 10 would be way better. Gudrun is able to charge over the wall and get fully past it, and then he misses his charge. I was hoping to Berserk and kill those 2 solos, so that was unfortunate. Gudrun did not get to do his job. So there, I walk because he shield guarded the beacon shot. I aggression dial, so I boost the gore like you do with every pig, and then just like every other time, the gore does not crit. I believe I've critted like a handful of times in each game with it. So I miss, you pop Fortune's Path.
Yep, this is where I decide to use Fortune's Path to make it easier for me to hit next turn.
So I boosted one of the cleavers. I miss, I hit, dice damage, even though it should have been dice +1. Right?
Yeah, it probably was dice +1 because there should be 1 less corpse there.
Which is fine. I end up going full, I believe, and actually hit the last attack. I was worried about buying the last attack and just missing.
Yep, and that gets him to the box. Like, at least to the box in this game right now, in the state that we're playing in where I've cheated. And
no, that's fine. I cheated last game. Luckily, that was because now I don't have to send in the Wastelander. So the Wastelander decides to run over to the other side of him. I don't have acrobatics, but you're incorporeal, so now I can run through you.
Exactly. Now we're playing the game.
Because he's got a Riot Quest magical stick.
Mechanicatana.
And so I'm like, I'm going to try and kill the guy next turn so I can try and score the flag because there's nothing really over there. And now Brigands, this is where I'm like, okay, there's no Abyssal Gate targets because he can just get to me. So I'm like, now I'm getting enfeebled. And I don't have a way to stop it. So I'm going to try and just make it as hard as I can. So I'm trying to decide if I should run to block a charge lane. But then I realized, like, with Abysmal Gates, you can just go around it. But I was like, And I didn't want to leave the bottom side uncontested. Because I was like, I figure Gudrun's going down. But I don't want to let him try to score back. I want to try and push my scenario lead. So the Brigands end up just walking forward, and I get a couple in contest range, and they're all going to be digging in, but I do make one big mistake, and I move the Valkyrie up way farther than she has to be, and then everybody just digs in, and I call it a turn.
So I probably made a mistake with putting the gremlin swarm on the side that I did. I wasn't super confident that the Wastelander had magical weapons. So now that flag is kind of dead to me. There's nothing I can really do over there. I could probably like move a Clockatrice over and spray over, but he has a magic spray too. So that means I would probably hit and kill my own gremlin swarm. It kind of defeats the purpose, although it means that Ethan wouldn't be able to score the flag, but it does mean that I don't have that heavy doing stuff that it needs to do right now. So Fortune's Path is good for me, at least in that I can pump the damage and the hitting capability of my control area now. So I feel like my time management is just a little bit better this time. So I decide to Wraithwalker during my control phase and go through the Clockatrice because I'm like, I can just pull this guy with my Abyssal Gate, or I thought that this was what I was going to plan for, was just pulling him up. And the reason for this was to try and get some good spray angles with the Clockatrice's Assault. But I think after I start doing like Fury math here, I realize that this is not going to go the way I want to. So I kind of have to pick a path. 100% Manifest Destiny comes out this turn. And then the other thing that I have to worry about or kind of finagle is, do I want to enfeeble the Brigands, or do I want to pull the pig further so I could kill Brigands? And I think I decided to just go with the enfeeble on the Brigands here. I would have liked to have played more attritionally and take out the Brigands from that pool of from that front line that's in the bottom zone there, because that would keep my Cage Raider a little more safe, but it only took 5 of them to get him down to 1 box last time, so I don't think that probably wasn't going to work out the best for me if they didn't have that enfeeble on them. So I dropped that over there and decide to not pull the Warhog forward, and I think now I'm just figuring out maybe I'm even still debating this enfeeble thing right now. Like, that's how much time I wasted on this thing, like a whole 3 minutes. So I connect with the enfeeble, which means that I can at least camp a couple, because, or at least I can camp 2 because enfeeble is 2 and Manifest Destiny is 3. So now that embarrassing moment is over. So now the Clockatrice is close enough to charge and just get in on the Warhog. I think we are just close enough to get a spray onto Azazello.
No, it's your position.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, it was the way that I was facing, because I decided to engage a Brigand to pull it out of the ground. I was like, maybe I can just, pop it while I'm over here. So I don't get the spray on Azazello, but I do hit the Warhog. I just don't do any damage, I think.
No, I believe you missed it, because originally you rolled Manifest Destiny on it, and I was like, you don't get that
and
on
I had
sprays.
to re-roll. Yep.
But I mean, with Manifest Destiny and Ill Omens, you need 5s.
Yeah, and I think I rolled a 5.
Or not Ill Omens, Fortune's Path.
Fortune's Path. I think I rolled a 5, so I just wasn't thinking about it. But the next the charge attack hits and ends up doing a decent amount of damage to the Warhog. Since Fortune's Path is up, I get 15 on the tail and 14 on those little claws. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 14 and 13s.
Yeah, and then 14 on or 15 on the tail, 14 on the claws.
Yeah, I meant before Fortunes.
Yeah, sorry. So the Warhog's taking a bit of heat here, but I end up going full on the Clockatrice and don't quite kill the Warhog, which is really unfortunate for me. I think it would have been just better for the attrition game to take that piece off, and then it would make it so that Azazello has to come and deal with the Clockatrice instead of having the Warhog just there to do whatever.
And then there I do a cute riposte move, but with Enfeeble I miss.
Yep, good old Enfeeble. This is the Crabbit. I decide to get brave with it and attack a Brigand. So the second attack I end up hitting, and he toughs that one. So my goal here was like, I was hoping to have made 2 Phantasms this turn, but I just don't get there with them. And now you get to see me have a wonderful use of my Cage Rager, and that's just walking over to start beating on Gudrun so I can free up my solos. And the first attack ends up missing by just a little bit, and then the second initial misses on triple ones. So now I have to buy one, and that one will connect. And I'm dice +3, we said?
Yep. Oh, your one did hit. You left him on 1.
Oh, left him
so
on
you had the
1
buy an
box.
attack. He hung over, knocked down, and then you just bought an attack, auto hit, and killed him.
Yep, so we spent a bunch of fury to do that. Now, this is another moment of cheaty. I realized that Fortune's Path only works if the model you're hitting is in your control area, not the model you're attacking with. So I think that Gudrun might have been right on the edge of my control on that one, but it is what it is, I guess.
So going into my turn, I'm really glad the Warhog's still alive. If he had Abyssal gated, I think the Warhog dies. And he did move up Dreamer because he had extra movement. The Warlord is in Pandemonium Rage, so they can't charge this turn, so that really screws with my plans. So, like, I think with stopping me charging, you could have just went for the Abyssal Gate. The Wastelander misses the Gremlin Swarm. Fun fact, if he had Storm Rager, that would have hit, and then I would have just auto-won, because I'm up to 2. I'm going to be scoring 3 because he wasn't able to contest my flag again. But Wastelander missed, so now I got to be constructive and try and clear the middle zone. So now I'm measuring Lord Azazello's charge threat, and then just making sure if I can keep a unit in the zone and contest his flag. But even though I guess Lord Az is going to be in the zone, I guess I wasn't even thinking about him. I was just worried about getting the whole unit in the zone this game. So I feat. I charge the clock. I have melee to the Crabbit, and I Flashing Blade first. I hit the clock. I'm a POW 13 Weapon Master, dice -5. Do really well, and that's going to be a stuttering after we resolve this attack. I hit the Crabbit. Do not kill him at dice +1. I think I leave him on 4 boxes.
It wasn't a ton, yeah.
And then I'm about to Flashing Blade again, and that's where you point out that I crippled his system, so he is stuttering.
Yep, so I end up moving here just to try and get away from Azazello and make the charge a little bit harder for the Warhog, but you do some tricky stuff.
I Windrush, and now I'm in the Crabbit's rear arc, and I ask if you'd like to take a free strike, because it doesn't make you immune. And I think literally right as I ask you and you're about to roll, I'm like, wait, I have a riposte.
Yeah, with Matt, like, I'll take any free strike, but a riposte when just to kill a free Crabbit, yeah, I think I'll pass.
Yeah, because I'm def 18 with Windrush and feet, so like I would have just gotten a free attack. So I Flashing Blade, kill the Crabbit, do decent damage to the clock. Or no, I believe I miss. So now I resolve my charge attack because I never charged yet, or did
you
the charge
didn't resolve
attack?
your charge, yeah.
Because I was able to Flashing Blade, then Windrush. I do decent. I use my last 2 to heal the Warhog. And then I can't Hog Wild, so like I'm banking on this Warhog going in. He needs 7s to hit. I boost the Gore. What do you know? I don't crit. Do decent damage. I did Aggression Dial this time because I don't have to worry about...
yeah, the time stutter's already gone off. So.
Yep. So I believe he 2-shots it. The Brigands just all walk up, and then I'm able to tow my zone and contest the flag. With the walk and repo, they're all able to get in because I'm gonna remember repo, so I end up winning 4-0 again.
Yep. So this was the last of the Brawlmachine scenarios we had to try. I think we've got them all under our belts now.
Yeah, this is our 3rd one.
Yep. And this scenario was kind of created to de-incentivize a lot of Beast or Warjack bricks because I think there's a little bit of extra power in those lists in Brawlmachine. It kind of makes it so it's more difficult for someone who's bringing a combined arm style list to play into them. The skews at 25 points can just hurt a bit. So me having 2 lists that are very heavy Beast bricks, I was hoping that maybe I could last long enough in the central area of this table to keep contesting and doing stuff, but that just didn't work out for me, and the scenario game got away from me pretty quickly with being unable to deal with those flags and get something onto my opponent's side of the table. So it seems like you can still have a beast brick in your pairing, but for this scenario specifically, you're going to really need to think about what you're putting into it in order to make sure that you don't become irrelevant on the scenario. I think both of these games I ended up losing with zero control points on this one, so it's definitely something to consider when you're looking at building a 2-list pairing for Brawlmachine, is this scenario specifically.
Yeah, but we talked about it afterwards. Like, I think a beast brick can work, but you need a beast brick that can clear infantry. Like, if he would have had a rattler in your sideboard and swapped that in, like, and the brigands go in and kill a heavy, like, it's literally like, do I tough? If no, the rattler clears all my dudes.
Yeah, the for Grymkin in my child list, I have a rattler in that sideboard that I can plug in. But for the dreamer, I think I was just a little bit weird on points with it, and I think I might have went a little bit too much into the specialty solo department for that. I think there's definitely better ways I could have gone about building this particular list for a scenario like this, or at least just to be a better all-comer. And the rattler is really key to that. I think missing out on Rattler Manifest Destinies with a Glimmer Imp hanging around makes it so that I've really taken away one of my best tools at dealing with Azazello's henchmen.
Yep, because even if I feat defensively for Def 16 with the Glimmer Imp and Fortune's Path, because I'll miss something on his turn, or on my turn, he just needs Manifest Destiny 7s, and that's if I feat defensively. If I don't, it's Manifest Destiny 5s. Like, those are some dead brigands. It literally boils down to, if I make 5 tough checks in a row, I stop your killing spree train. Because like a medium base with 1-inch melee when I'm command 9.
Yeah, you can spread out quite a bit.
But like I can't have the unit leader up too far because of all your Arcana. Like Arcana at 25 points feels really strong. I don't know if like, I'm not saying it pushes them over the top, but I feel like it shores up those differences. Like Pandemonium really just like shuts down my key unit for a turn, or even like your -2 speed. It just gives you a lot of options every turn.
Yeah, and being able, like, most people are going to be taking casters that are quite active, whether it's melee or magic wise, and or just attack or magic wise. So like having Ruin to shut some spell casting down really hurts too. I think that Grymkin seem like a powerful contender in Brawlmachine, but you have to be very specific about how you build your list and make sure that you fully understand everything your opponent can do when you're picking your Arcana, which isn't too difficult just by looking at their cards. Be like, do you have sweet spells? Cool, then Ruin's going in here. If you have a unit, sweet, Pandemonium's going in here if you want it to charge. So a lot of the Arcana picking for Grymkin seems to like pick itself. I think I was in a Brawlmachine league for the Wisconsin area, and my child list, we did single lists back then, and my child list every single game I played was Ruin and Pandemonium.
Yeah, because like they're just really, really powerful at 25 points, and with the central scenarios, like things are gonna end up in your control range for those things to happen. Like Dreamer's Toe in the zone, if I have a unit in the zone, it's gonna get shut down for a turn.
Yeah, it's pretty legit, the idea of Grymkin and Arcana in this format. Definitely looking forward to throwing more Grymkin down in Brawlmachine. I think the King of Nothing has some real good potent power in this one, because not many people are bringing things to see around clouds, because that tech is just so pointed and specific, and it's part of support. So there will be games where it doesn't do anything for you. So unless you can innately do it, cloud walls seem really powerful in this format.
Yeah, caster dependent cloud walls, like the rest of your list doesn't need to influence. Like King of Nothing can put out 4 to 5 clouds a turn.
Yeah,
and like that's independent of what his list does. Say something like Trenchers, where it's like, okay, I'm spending the points on it, and this is what my unit's doing. Instead, like you're putting up the clouds, all your pseudo cavalry are behind it, and it's like, if I don't ignore clouds, you're getting the alpha, and there's not anything I can do to stop that.
He also has a pretty potent Arcana in that he's the only caster or Defier or Warlock or whatever that has a Arcana that does damage.
But he can't really spam his battle group. Yeah, he could still take 2 Crabbits. But that, yeah, I do agree. Like, it shuts down your opponent's units for a turn, because if you pop that once, it's D3 plus 1.
Yeah.
Or it's the original guy plus D3.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I kill 1 Crabbit and it's like, do I really want to make more attacks this turn and just possibly lose 4 dudes for nothing?
Yeah, and if those Crabbits are contesting something, like, you have to do something with them. So, and that's not to mention maybe a heavy or light hanging around, like a gorehound that you want to kill. If it's hanging out in your backyard, that's getting any support or other important models that you have. So I think like this is a good example of maybe another warcaster or warlock that is really low on people's radar, or really low in terms of efficacy, and Brawlmachine kind of raises them up a little bit just because of the nature of 25 points.
Yeah, 25 points gets some weird skews, and even Dreamer, like we talked about a little bit after the game, I'm not convinced she's too over the top for Brawlmachine, but she's like one of those weird contenders for maybe a possible ban, but just because of like the mid summoning mid game with the solos, like it just, you get to poop out contesting bots on your turn, and then they fully activate because her kit's just going to be good. That's no matter what. So I don't think she's too over the top, but maybe with when you factor in Arcana, like a Rattler, but that, I don't know. Like we've talked about it off camera, where the ban list, there's like a few different ways to look at it. Like if you're trying to ban every negative play experience in the game, you're gonna have a ban list a mile long. But I still think like you could go through every faction and find like 1 to 2 casters where you're like, okay, maybe this is too strong, and like you just ban 1 to 2 casters per faction that are just too good, on top of the generic like no TK, no huge bases.
It is one of the things, like the banned list for Brawlmachine is really strange because you have to kind of find this balance of what to ban and what not to ban, and to just try and ignore it completely I think is also a problem, because I feel like that was the core issue with Champions or the ADR stuff when it had come out, was that no caster was safe from not going on that list. I think we had one season where like the Negra 1 was on there, and then another where Calandra was in there with Elemental Evolutionism, EE. So like there's, if you kind of like don't let these powerful you have to kind of mitigate these powerful things. I mean, in a normal 75-point game it's different, but in this one, like, yeah, Butcher 3 is probably going to murder the world when he's in Brawlmachine, but then you have to start looking at other casters that have high outputs too, and where do you draw that line? So I don't have any, I have plenty of sympathy for the line of sight folks and their choices that they have to make when it comes to the ban list, because I think with the top, like those S tier casters, every single one of them has an argument to be made to be taken out of Brawlmachine completely. Like I do think after playing that Kane 2 game that there's a good chance that he could be one of those in contention for being banned also.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking them at all. Like I am glad there's a ban list, and B, glad I'm not the one who has to decide everything that's on the list.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Like everybody has different opinions. Like before the game I was thinking like maybe Dreamer should be on there, and then like you get to some of these fringe casters when we start to try, we're not going to break Brawlmachine, but we're going to start to play more things that like
feel like they're uneven for Brawlmachine.
Yeah, like I even felt bad like putting Melvin in Mayhem. I messaged you and I'm like, if you want, I'll swap this out for a blind lauder list, because I thought like with Rask, Feet, Fury, Boundless, Tenacity, like if you've seen the Jaga Jaga game, like you get a rough idea of what Reach killing sprees can do, and I thought maybe that'd be too potent. But then like we haven't played any Archons, because like I think those should be on the ban list. Some people think they're okay,
yeah,
at least in contention. Like especially like the Dunian for free probably feels too good in some themes.
Yep.
But like I built a Lord Azazello list that's like a Primal Archon and a Void. Like what does a list do to a Primal Archon with an arm buff? Like in this list, if I Storm Rager him, I feat, he's armed 24 with like 18 boxes. But then you run into those weird things of like, does Striker 1 deserve to be on the ban list? Because like he brings an Arcane Shielded, Feated Heavy. Like if he brings a Centurion, that's what, armor 29?
Yeah, I was messing with some other stuff, and you can get Storm Blades up to arm 28. Like single wound infantry is what it is, but arm 28 single wound infantry, that's dangerous. It's hard to get rid of.
What about arm 27 Storm Lances with 5 wounds?
Yeah, that's
great, because 17 base.
17, 19 with unyielding, then Arcane
8.
Shield gives you 21, and then plus 5 gives you 24.
That math was
that was
very,
wrong.
very
wrong. Oh
wrong.
my god, what was I was thinking about the plus 5 from feet, and then recognized I was actually doing the math for our Iron Zeal. Yeah, Jeepers. So they're high. You
Yeah.
can do the math yourself.
Yeah, because it's 17 base, Arcane Shield to 20, Unyielding to 22, Feet to 27.
Yep, that's a beefy Stormlance.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like
It's rough. Like it's just going to be one of those things where as the format evolves, there's going to be certain things that you can let slip, and then certain things where you're just like, yeah, this isn't appropriate. And 25 points in general is just like, by the nature of Warmachine, it's just hard to get that to all work, because at 25 points I still feel like Negra 1 is an auto slam for ban. Like no one should have to experience that at 25 points.
and then like I feel the same way about something like Grim 1. Like
Yeah,
nobody
no
should
charging.
have to
Yeah,
and neg 3 speed. Like because at that point, like I would take a Rune Bearer. I know we've talked about cutting support, but
cutting
like
support, but
that 14-inch bubble of like no scoring my zones and I get alpha.
yeah, you get everything you want out of it. You have to be relevant to scenario. People lose 75-point games to that. So yeah, it's harsh. Like we're not begrudging the line of sight folks at all.
No,
they've got
not
their
at
work.
all.
They've got their work cut out for them, and I appreciate this format a lot. But there's definitely, it'll be interesting to see, like in the next couple months or so, how the format evolves and see where they end up finally landing on it. Right now, I feel like there's a little bit more to kind of tighten it up a bit, but it's the Wild West out there, so play some weird stuff. And I know that in our next game, we're going to try and break it, and not break it like, oh, we're so smart, we're going to break Brawlmachine, but we're going to try and use busted lists.
Yeah, are gonna try and bring things that are maybe too good. And like I feel like this game, like I talked about it at the beginning, like showed like I literally brought the same list that Midas did, but like my kit was just so much better.
Yeah.
I don't think Lord Az is on the ban list at all. Like,
No, he's just good.
He's just a really solid kit. Like if Iona can stay on this, like Iona Tharn, I thought for sure. Like,
Yeah.
that was iffy to me. Like if she can stay on the list, Lord Az can definitely stay on the list, even if you do take some Archons with him. But no, I don't begrudge them at all for what they're doing. I think people forget this is very much in its infancy, and it's hard to get these proxy games, or not proxy, but the practice games and the reps to see what needs to be banned and what needs all balancing tweaks because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I think post-COVID, like this will blow up even more, and I know it's been popular pretty much worldwide, which is something really nice and getting people excited about the game.
Yeah, it's refreshing.